Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, and welcome to this Saw franchise movie review video. As part of my current series, where I'm taking a look at the entire Saw franchise in preparation for Saw X coming out in October. So we're just about halfway through the series. Today we're going to take a look at Saw 5 from 2008. The first four movies have been reviewed. Those reviews are up on my channel if you want to check them out. But yeah, today we're going to take a look at Saw 5 from 2008. Once again, part of this 8 pack that I have, Blu-ray and DVD collection here. So yeah, and of course, Saw 5 is another first time watch for me, as all these will be after the second one. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Saw 5 is a 2008 horror film directed by David Hackey. Hackle? Is that an I or an L at the end? Hackle? I don't know. David Hackle in his directorial debut from a screenplay by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. It is the fifth installment in the Saw film series and a sequel to 2007 Saw 4. The film stars Tobin Bell, Costas Mandylor, Scott Peterson, Betsy Russell, Mark Rolston, Julie Benz, Carlo Rhoda, and Megan Good. The plot follows FBI agent Strom investigating the murders committed by the Jigsaw Killer, but as he delves deeper into the case, he realizes that the murders are part of a larger, more intricate plot. Meanwhile, Jigsaw's accomplice, Mark Hoffman, has been promoted to lieutenant and is tasked with leading the investigation into the Jigsaw murders. However, as Strom gets closer to the truth, he becomes the target of Jigsaw's traps. So basically, the film opens. That's the gist of it. But the film opens. Convicted murderer Seth Baxter wakes up chained to a table beneath a pendulum blade. He is told that he can release himself by crushing his hands between two presses. He does so, but the blade still bisects him, and someone watches through the hole in the wall. FBI agent Peter Strom escapes from the room that he was locked in by Detective Hoffman. He is then attacked by a figure in a pig mask and wakes up with his head sealed in a box being quickly filled with water. Outside, Hoffman delivers Corbett, the kidnapped daughter of Jeff, to the police and claims they were the only survivors. Strom, having survived the trap by performing a tracheotomy with his pen, is brought out alive as well, much to Hoffman's shock. So yeah, that's to set up the premise for Saw 5 from 2008. As far as the cast goes, we have Tobin Bell as Jigsaw slash John. We have Costas Mandylor as Mark Hoffman, Scott Patterson as Agent Strom, Betsy Russell as Jill, Julie Benz as Britt, Megan Good as Luba, Mark Rolston as Dan Erickson, Carlo Rhoda as Charles, and Greg Burke as Malik. Greg Brick, is it? Greg Brick as Malik. So anyway, that's to set up the premise and the cast for Saw 5 from 2008. Um, I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie, if I'm being honest. It's pretty much wash, rinse, repeat. And just with not as much interesting things happening as the first movies. Since part two, the movies have just kind of gone downhill more and more through part five here. And I don't know if that's going to be the case after this, but yeah, for part five, I can say that this is a step down even from part four, which was a big step down from part three, which was a little bit of step down from the first two movies. So let's just go ahead and get into it, starting with my pros. There are some pretty good traps in this movie, I'll say. The pendulum kill at the beginning, the way the film opens, I thought was pretty effective. Also, the putting the arms or hands into the glass boxes with the saw blades in order to fill up the vial of blood, 10 pints, I believe, that some of the characters had to do was pretty tense towards the end of the movie and fairly gory from a bloody standpoint. So I did enjoy those. The side story of this group of people trapped that go through these rooms and have to face different traps was interesting, where they needed to work together ultimately, but chose not to. They were all out to save their own skins. But going through these different rooms and having to face these different traps was interesting. Um, their connection to each other, why they were all there. I found that part of the movie fairly engaging and somewhat interesting. And I'm grasping at straws a little bit. Yes, that's true. I like how they go back and alter, give some different perspective on some of the events from the first few movies, especially related to the traps that are set up. The razor wire one being the one that I caught the most. Adding more context without taking too much away, I think it helps with continuity when you watch those movies. So that was a pro. And then finally, the ending of the movie with the glass case or box and the room slowly coming together where the walls are closing in. It made me think of Star Wars: A New Hope, so they get credit for that. It's a pro from that standpoint. I thought it was interesting. It had some pretty good gore effects at the end as one character is being slowly crushed to close out the film. It also kind of left the viewers taken aback a little bit and kind of makes them wonder, wow, what's next? Where are we going to go from here? So that's never a bad thing in any kind of horror movie, especially when you're a fourth sequel in and a fifth movie in the franchise. So yeah, those are my pros for Saw 5 from 2008. As far as cons go, the main story of this movie are these two agents squaring off against each other, and unfortunately for me, I don't find either of these characters very likable, very engaging, very connecting to where I care about either one of them, to be honest with you. And so, as a result of that, when you consider 70% of this movie is them sort of trying to outdo each other and see who can turn on each other first, or who can get to the other first, I should say, where one's trying to expose the other and the other's trying to not become exposed. It's just, yeah, that's basically what the main story is, and I just couldn't have cared less about it. It wasn't interesting or engaging. And basically, I just don't care because I really don't connect to either of these characters, as I said. I don't think they're portrayed particularly well by either actor, especially Costas Mandalore as Mark Hoffman, as I mentioned in the fourth movie. Just doesn't do anything for me. I think he's the most obvious bad guy in the history of horror movies, quite frankly. There's really no tension or excitement between these two as the movie goes on. As I said, Hoffman's an obvious bad guy, and people that can't pick up on it in this movie, man, wake up. Also, this movie takes how convoluted the franchise has become at this point in terms of the setups of traps, the setups of games, and the storylines, and ratchets it up to about 11, even from the last couple movies, to where it's not engaging or even motivating to try to think about things through anymore, or about how this stuff comes together. It's and out stuff and put stuff together, I think is what I meant to say in my notes there. But yeah, we're just kind of at a point where I'm just not that interested in thinking that hard about it because it's just gotten so far off the beaten path from those first couple movies where it wasn't overly convoluted. Now it's just like you just kind of have to go with it and not think or ask questions about it. So that's a con. And then again, the wash, rinse, repeat without any interesting or engaging characters in this movie, and having more of a convoluted premise and a storyline that we have ever and a weaker storyline than we've ever had before. Makes for a tougher watch. I'm not going to lie. This was the toughest one of the first five movies that I had to get to, and it's only 91 or 92 minutes, I think. But even with that, it was a tough watch. So that doesn't tell you everything. I don't know what. Well, and then finally the ending twist, which I mentioned with the glass case or the glass box. Well, it was kind of interesting. Of the first five films, it's definitely the weakest sort of twist ending, if you will. I don't even know how much of a twist ending it was. I think it was more of just like supposed to be like a shock ending, maybe a little bit more than a twist. The first four movies, the twists were better, although they've gotten weaker after part two. They've gotten weaker as each movie's gone on. And this one, I didn't. That's usually a pro for me in the first four movies. It wasn't a pro in this movie at all. And yeah, it's just very weak. And I think the fact that they made these movies one year after the other is starting to catch up with them a little bit, where they're putting more into the gore and the traps and less into the characters and the story. And that's what's hurting this franchise at this point. I know I've still got four more movies to watch and review before Saw X, which hopefully will be okay come October, although my hopes aren't high. But anyway, guys, yeah, this is going to be one of my longer reviews because I just don't have that much to say about Saw 5. It's not very good. It's the weakest so far of the first five movies, in case you can't tell by my review. I don't even know what to. I guess I'll give it a 6 out of 10, being generous, because of the traps and because of the group of characters that were sort of in their connection that were sort of had to go through these rooms. That part I was more engaged in, but that wasn't the majority of the movie, unfortunately. But that's going to get it up to a 6 instead of the 5.5 that I initially thought about giving it. 6 out of 10 for Saw 5 from 2008. Like I said, bigger step down from part four, which was a big step down from part three. Yeah. So go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of Saw 5. Is it the weakest so far for you? Do you like it more than I do? Less? Why not? Comment down below. Please like this video and hit the little notification bell so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series. And please be sure to subscribe to my channel as well so you don't miss any of my great horror content. Not only the rest of this series, but what I have coming out over the last 4 months of the year. So I hope you're enjoying this series, even though the movies are getting a little tougher for me to watch. But I hope you enjoyed this review for what it was, and hope everybody's having a good wrap up to their summer here. But of course, as always, stay scared. Bye.